What's going on, guys? Bob Roche from RocheTechnology.com here with my full review for you of the X5 Bluetooth keyboard for the iPad. This was sponsored by FocalPrice.com. Be sure to check them out right there in the description. There's a link to their website as well as this very product. So in case you couldn't tell by the name of the device, this is in fact a Bluetooth keyboard meant specifically for the iPad. It has some very iPad-specific controls, like a home button, things like that. Makes your iPad that much more productive of a device. So in my typical review fashion, I've done a pros and a cons list. So let's go ahead and get started. The first pro I have is that this offers a pretty neat look to it. As you can probably tell, I have the actual one right over here. This is the actual Apple Bluetooth keyboard, and this is the X5 Bluetooth keyboard. Now, upon first glance, you really would not be able to tell a difference other than I'll try to get this little better view up there. As you can see up here, putting this aside for a second, we have indeed a home button, a brightness control, the spotlight key, all these different little functions up here. They work great with the iPad, whereas the typical Apple keyboard, which by the way can be paired with this, I've done it all through college, works very well. You just have your escape key, and the brightness keys up here do work on the iPad if you use the actual official Apple one, but having a keyboard with these specific controls really is a nice experience. So while I have the Apple one out, we'll go ahead and we'll just do some comparisons here. The real Apple one is on the bottom, so like that. We'll get sort of a thickness comparison going on here. Kind of interfering with my computer here. Do this as best as I can. But very similar other than the top here that gives it the angle. The back pretty similar, not quite obviously, but you guys get the idea. So basically my first pro is that the overall design, move that off to the side here a little bit more, the overall design actually is pretty nice. It's pretty nice to type on. The build quality of the Apple keyboard is not here. I mean, this is not built as well as the actual Bluetooth keyboard that Apple provides, but then again, it doesn't cost that much either. So overall, the design, it has a pretty nice look to it, and it has a pretty nice feel as well. Something that you can really type on. The next pro I have is, like I sort of brought up earlier, it has some iPad-specific controls. So what I'm going to do to demo this real quick is I'm going to go ahead and flip this switch. As you see on the back right here, we have a little off and on switch. Go ahead and do that, and in no time, give it a couple seconds. As you see, we do have a little battery LED up there, and the keyboard is now paired. So for example, if I come up here and hit this home button, it'll go to the little search window, little spotlight window. I can go back again, I can do the screen brightness. If I want to start like a slideshow, I can hit this key right here. And there we go, there's a weird picture in my dogs. And the works. So as you can see, these iPad specific keys do work pretty well. And so just to do a quick little typing test, I'm going to go ahead and open up Notes. I'll do it via the keyboard. Now unfortunately, with little menus like this, if you go to hit the down key, it won't come through here. If you hit the enter key, nothing will happen. So there are a few things that within iOS that is just not really optimized for a keyboard, but all you have to do is simply tap Notes and you're there. So as you can see right there, just a quick test, give myself a little more natural of a typing angle. Tap somewhere up here, return, and we'll say this is a test of the keyboard, period. And so, I mean, it does type pretty well. I can type a little bit faster, I found, on the actual Apple keyboard. These keys aren't quite as high of quality of a plastic, and even things like that, they really do make a little bit of a difference on how fast you type. So this keyboard, I cannot type as fast as I can on my actual Apple keyboard, but regardless, I can still type much faster than on a virtual keyboard. And that's basically what this is going for. And moving on to the next pro, I mean, it's Bluetooth. I mean, it's not like a wired keyboard that plugs in there or anything. I actually don't even know if they make those, but I mean, it's Bluetooth. I could take this thing over to my bed and have it up here if I really wanted to, and it works just fine. It has some pretty decent range on it, probably, better or worse than the actual Apple Bluetooth keyboard, but overall, I'm very satisfied with the range of this thing. It's also pretty darn portable. I mean, it's really pretty much just as big as the iPad, a little bit longer, just as thick as the iPad, maybe in case, except this guy back here. But it's very easy to take with me, and since it doesn't have that really nice build quality to it, since it is pretty low budget, I feel very comfortable just putting this in a backpack with my iPad and being all set. I'm not really too OCD about this thing breaking. If it does break, then it's 20 bucks. But for the build quality, I would have to say that it is pretty sturdy just for what it is. If I threw this in a backpack, keys aren't going to be popping off, things like that. So I can definitely trust this thing well enough to be in a backpack with my iPad. Really no worries there. And the last pro I have for this guy is, well, the price. Like I said earlier, this thing's only 20 bucks, and for a Bluetooth keyboard, a wireless keyboard solution that has iPad specific features, for all the amount of increased productivity that this does give me on my iPad when replying to emails and things, for 20 bucks you really can't go wrong. I've seen keyboards that are more expensive that don't really offer much functionality on top of this, so $20 for an iPad keyboard really is not a bad price at all. Now, no matter how great this product is, I have to say that there are some cons. The first one is that I'm not sure, I think it's just me and maybe this one, because I did actually talk to the company about this and it does not seem to be a known issue with these keyboards, but I did experience some, I wouldn't say frequent, but every now and again this thing would just randomly drop out on me. Now, there is a feature that after 10 minutes of no activity it will just unpair itself to save battery, which makes total sense, but there were a few instances where some days it'd be fine, but other days after about a minute or two of not being used it would unpair. And if that does happen, as you can see throughout this whole video, it has not done it, so it has maintained the connection. But even if it did lose connection, all you have to do is tap a key or two and give it 5 seconds and it would repair. So it's really not a big deal, but something just to be aware of. I'm not sure, and these are brand new batteries, by the way. It does take AAAs, which I'll get into in just a second. But they were brand new batteries, so I don't think it's the batteries. But like I said, it could be just me because it doesn't seem to be a known issue. But regardless of the bug, it was not too bad. So the next con I have is what I sort of just brought up, is that it takes AAA batteries. This is the only device that I have that takes AAA batteries. Everything nowadays is either AA or lithium ion. But I really wish that they would sort of maybe incorporate a lithium ion battery. Even if it would drive the price up a little bit, a lithium ion battery would be pretty sweet. Or even AA batteries. Maybe this is just my situation. I'm sure it's different for you other guys. Maybe you have other TV remotes or something that take AAAs. But for me personally, nothing I use besides this keyboard uses AAA batteries. So now I kind of have to have some AAA batteries on hand to power this guy, which is not a big deal. But then again, it's not really a pro. So I decided to just throw that in the cons. But like I said, really not a big deal. It just depends on your, I guess, your use with batteries. And the last con I have, which is like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, is the build quality. I mean, this is not the same as the Apple keyboard, but then again, the Apple keyboard is $70 and this is $20. So when you take that into consideration, I really don't think you'll find much more inexpensive of a keyboard that has, this much functionality to it. I feel comfortable throwing this guy in my backpack, like I said earlier, and having it not break. I mean, overall, it's not like, I'm pretty sure this is plastic, it's not aluminum like the Apple keyboard is, but then again, like I said, it really doesn't have to be. And also, like I said earlier about the keys, I think it is a different sort of a plastic that it doesn't feel as nice on your fingers to type on, but it's much better than a virtual keyboard when you're doing things like email. But overall, for the features it has, you can even, put the iPad to sleep, wake it up without a smart cover, things like that. The build quality really does not factor in that much here. I mean, you type on it, that's really it. So build quality is not a huge factor. But then again, like I said earlier with the AAA batteries, it's not really a pro either. So I decided to put it in with the cons. But overall, I have to say with this, like many products I review, the pros do outweigh the cons for this. It's a $20 iPad keyboard, guys. I mean, really, not much more to it than that. It does, like I said, the connection issue, this has not dropped once during this video, even with all the little edits and stuff you guys will see. It has not dropped the connection once. It's actually done its job very well here. So it's not really a persistent issue, but like I said, one that I did see. So overall, I would have to give this guy, I'd say about a 4 out of 5, or an 8 out of 10 for you math wizards. But at the end of the day, a solid iPad keyboard for 20 bucks. So that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Be sure to check out FocalPrice.com as well as this product on Focal Price. Both links are right in the description. I'm at CPU Kid on Twitter. Be sure to follow me there. Also be sure to check out RocheTechnology.com and at RocheTechnology on Twitter. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you to Focal Price for sponsoring this for review, and I'll see you guys, you guessed it, in my next video.